Well, let's speak now to former Metropolitan Police Detective Peter Bleksley. Good morning to you, Peter. Very good to see you this morning. Now, you are on the television show Hunted, which is about people going on the run and you're trying to find them. So you will know all about this. What will the police be doing now to find this fugitive?
Well, yes, that was an entertainment show, but I also have the capture of some pretty notorious fugitives on my CV from when I was a detective as well. Yes, there's going to be two specific ways of looking at this. Has Daniel Khalife gone on the run on his own, or is he supported by a network of people? And there'll be quite a different approach, because if he was an opportunist and he clung to this van on the spur of the moment and he's on his own with no pre-planning, no resources, and living on his wits, then I would suggest he'll be far easier to find, because he would, for example, quite possibly be scavenging in bins for food. He might be shoplifting in order to get a change of clothing and the like, all of which sort of behaviour would bring him to people's attention. If, however, this is pre-planned and he is supported by a network of fellow-minded criminals, then of course he could have cash, shelter, change of clothing, false passport, any number of things, and he may already have left the country. Let's hope that is not the case. This really is the interview I didn't want to give this morning, because I was hoping to wake up first thing and see that he'd been captured. Alas, he hasn't, and I'm sure the police have been working full tilt all night in an effort to find him.
It has to have been pre-planned, Peter. I'm looking at the van. You and me, if we wanted to escape somewhere, we wouldn't know what the underside of a particular vehicle would be like, or how you could attach yourself with belts or straps to the underside, what distance there would be between the undercarriage of the van and the road, for instance, what struts would be available to tie yourself to. So it just has this sense that they've been surveying vehicles, they knew what time they would arrive, they would know when he had the opportunity to do all of this thing, and then that strikes me that he must have somewhere to go.
Yes, and I fully understand your point of view, Eamon, and the points you make are, of course, extremely apt and relevant. However, desperate people do desperate things. We will have to wait and see. There might possibly be another press conference from the police today, but if there isn't, I wouldn't take that as being that they're clueless and they've got no idea, because it might well be that they've obtained some intelligence and they know a lot more than we do, and consequently they've got a lot of work to do in trying to find him. It will be very interesting to see how it plays out this morning. I personally am hoping that he hasn't fallen into the clutches of a very well-organised terrorist network, because if he has, and he's been spirited out of the country already, then I think that would make the possibility of locating and getting this man in front of a court for his trial in November pretty remote. But we will have to just sit tight and wait and see, with, of course, the reminder that if anybody sees 6'2", slim-built man with short brown hair who is Mr. Khalife, then the police urge you to call 999. Do not approach this man.
And what do you make of the sense, Peter Bleksley, the fact that we're in hour 22 of this prison escape? How likely do you think it is that the police can now find Mr. Khalife? And what do you make as well of the prison's decision to go public with this, to put this to the public? It did take quite a few hours yesterday before that happened, but would that suggest that intelligence, or what they had in the first place, had run dry?
The prison service and the police have a duty of care to the public to make them know if prisoners escape and to warn them about the possibility that they might have the unfortunate experience of bumping into them. So they acted properly. As for the timescale, we'll have to wait and see whether there was any delay, but I'm sure the police took a measured decision in terms of when to release the information and what information to tell us about. It was pretty exhaustive, pretty thorough yesterday. We had details of his clothing. We knew that he was wearing a chef's uniform, distinctive red and white checkered trousers. I suspect they've long since disappeared, and he's sourced a change of clothing. Once again, did he potentially shoplift that change of clothing, or was it already waiting for him and supplied to him by a terrorist criminal network?
Okay. Peter, thank you. Thank you very much indeed for your take on all of those things. Maybe we'll talk later again in the programme. Thank you for setting the scene. Very interesting when you think about that. You know, unless you have someone waiting for you, you would have no money, no IDs, no driving licence, no passport, no access for somewhere to go to, seek refuge with, whatever. So his chances would be pretty limited unless there is someone there waiting for him. Do you know what? You look at this lad and he's still a child. He's 21 years of age. But obviously very determined not to face trial. And there was those, as Mark White was telling us, very serious charges that he's facing. Very, very serious. But you're right, there was some form of planning, wasn't there? Because you have to cling to the bottom of that undercarriage of that catering truck. That requires straps, doesn't it? Some of the papers suggesting that those are homemade. Yeah. And the disguise, I mean, a chef's uniform, it's quite sophisticated if you think of it like that. I would have got under the vehicle, held onto the struts, and then fallen off 10 yards later, all to no avail. I wouldn't have the strength to hold myself up, I don't think. Well, exactly. We'd be used to it, you'd be rubbing against the ground or something, you know? You know what I mean? Yeah, well, it's brave. It's very rare, very, very rare for prison breaks to happen at all. I think. But as you said, this sounds like if this happened in a movie... It's Hollywood. It's something out of Hollywood. And maybe I've seen too many Hollywood films or watched too much Netflix. But you would say it's highly unlikely they would do that. But he's done it. He's done it. It's happened. Right.